The final cuts for the Arizona Coyotes have been put in place, and there's some injuries we got to report as well. Plus, that just means the final roster and the opening day roster for the Arizona Coyotes is here. We'll break all of that down in today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. Stay locked in.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Robyn Leonio, your host of this show. I've been now entering my official second season as host. Been covering the Coyotes for the last 6 years or so. I've been super excited to be here talking to you guys about another season as we get ready for the 2021-2022 season. Carl Pavlik of Five Howling joining me on this episode as per usual. Now, as we begin, because Carl today. The Coyotes don't play today, but today, regular season hockey is going to be played.
Yeah, it's crazy. We have the first NHL game of the 2021-2022 season. That's tough to say. It's not going to be the Coyotes. They're not playing until Thursday, but with the season starting up, we're getting some actual hockey movement going. It's a fun time.
It is fun time. I mean, I'll be paying attention to the night game, which is the two expansion teams essentially. With one,
Yes.
the Seattle Kraken and the Vegas Golden Knights, the babies of the league. Even though the Golden Knights are still a good team by now, but
Yeah. That one should be interesting. I think the Golden Knights are going to do really well against the Kraken, although most people.
Oh, did you see the Kraken have a lot of people in COVID protocol?
Yeah, that was a nice kind of like start to their franchise. Just a bunch of COVID. I'm actually kind of interested in the other game that's going on. Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay, two of the better teams in the East. Kind of see what they can do, especially in preseason when everyone's still got energy. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll have to see how all that goes. Again, I'm just super excited for NHL hockey to be back, and for everything to get closer to feeling like normal. Yeah, I mean we're not normal yet, but we got a 82 game season going, so I'm excited for that. But let's get to today's episode, Carl. Let's talk about the last round of cuts for the Arizona Coyotes as well as the injury update. So let's start with the last round of cuts, and that is the Coyotes have sent Barrett Hayton and Ryan McGregor, which kind of also injured, so we'll mention that later. But to the Tucson Roadrunners to essentially help round out their final roster.
Yep, that was the final two moves that needed to be made. The Hayton move especially seemed to have drawn a little bit of attention. Hayton as a first round pick a couple years ago is definitely high up in a lot of fans' minds. I think a lot of people expected him to make the opening night roster, especially since the Coyotes team isn't great, which we'll talk about in next segment. I do want people to keep in mind, though, that he missed most of the preseason. He played in the first game. He had just over 6 minutes in the second game where he registered an assist, and that's been all he's been able to do. So even though I think it's a good move to send a younger guy like Hayton to the AHL to get some experience, in a situation like this where he hasn't played in a while, it's definitely the right move in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely the right move. And because again, I was talking about this with someone at the Roadrunners game. I'm like, I can't wait till Hayton comes back, and it's like, no, he's gonna make the final roster. I'm like, really? You think so?
Yeah.
No, I'm like, and to me, that's nothing against, Barrett Hayton. I think he's a a fantastic hockey player, but I think he's best served being in Tucson and getting more. There's no need to rush his development. We talked about this. We've been talking about no need to rush players' development. And Hayton is one of those people you don't want to rush.
Absolutely. He is like he didn't have a great year last year, and I think part of that was just because the Tucson Roadrunners were not a full organization last year. So it seems like he got like a year of development, but not really. Not the same extent that you would get like this year with Jay Verde. I think he still has a bit of growth to do as a player. I think he's on track to still be a solid NHL contributor in the next couple of years, but doesn't necessarily need to happen right away. There's no harm in setting him down, like again under normal circumstances, and this is not normal circumstances. This is a player who's missed most of his preseason due to injuries.
Absolutely, I think that's and that's the reason why to keep him in Tucson. And the best part is, last year there was a little more of an issue of having him down there because there's the only people that could watch him are really the scouts. Now you have an actual GM down here who can actually tell. John Ferguson can pretty much go up to Bill Armstrong and be like, you know what, I think Hayton's ready.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like the Tucson Roadrunners were so understaffed last year with just not having a GM, not having their head coach because
Not
there
having
weren't
a full
head.
coaching staff.
Yeah, um, and I really don't know too much about like what happened to cause them to crater the way that they did, but I think that it it didn't really have much in there. And we saw like everyone really was struggling with the Roadrunners, it seems. So I don't blame Hayton. I would have liked to have seen him like maybe like excel beyond those expectations, but that's a big request for a younger player who doesn't have like the full support system that young players have come to rely on, and also just during a very turbulent time. Like, you know, the COVID year was tough for everyone. I cannot imagine it was easy for athletes.
Absolutely. But Barry Hayton wasn't the only wasn't the only part of the final round of cuts. And actually, there was another one that I didn't see earlier, but it ended up happening anyways. I'll mention that in just a sec. But Ryan McGregor was the last one that was put in the press release. Also, no surprise, he did not play at all in the preseason because of an injury, and he just because of that he kind of survived until the last minute. You probably and we talked about this with the stuff with Brett. Like, let's be honest, if he was healthy, he probably would have been sent down the first round.
Probably. It does kind of make me wonder, like, if maybe like Dylan Gunther would have stuck around for a little bit longer, or if he would have gotten that spot. I don't know. That's just kind of idle speculation. I thought McGregor looked pretty good in the rookie faceoff tournament. Uh, I would have liked to have seen him do something during preseason, but let's see what he can do during and with the Tucson Roadrunners.
Yeah, we'll just have to see on all of that.
Yep.
Again, I'm McGregor is usually like I wouldn't say he's definitely. I mean, he's not top six, unfortunately, but he's so that's just how things go. But let's. One thing I totally forgot to mention. I think I saw this. I didn't see this until the final roster was put out. Was the sending down of Joseph Kozhinosh, down to the Tucson
Yeah.
Roadrunners.
Yeah, his name was kind of like lost in there. I do remember seeing Koshinash. I think it was the same round of cuts as Mosier, but I may be wrong on that one. The Coyotes got
No,
like a lot of.
He was sent down on Friday actually with Boko
Oh,
Imama.
oh yes, yes. And I think what Boko needed to like cure waivers, so that got most of the attention. Was that
Yeah,
it?
but that's what it was.
Yeah. The Coyotes have like a bunch of younger players, and I think we expected a lot of them to go to the AHL. Um, who is going to be the first call ups if there's injuries next year? I'm not really sure because there's a lot of talent in the Tucson Router, so it'll be interesting to watch.
It will be interesting to watch. But that sets up so those four people that we mentioned, because I don't think we did mention them, Imama, as well as Kojanosh, McGregor, and Hayton were part of the final two rounds of cuts to help round out the final roster. And then that leads us to uh, injured reserve players to kind of that also have to be factored in here in defenseman Kyle Capobianco and forward Alex Galchenyuk.
Just Coyotes struggling with injuries yet again. I do think because Victor Sostrom is still on the roster, I think
That's the
when
reason why. I mean, when Capobianco is ready, Soderstrom will get sent down.
I do strongly think that Capobianco does need to clear waivers, so sending Sostrom down makes the most sense. Like, you know, roster move wise, unless Connor Timmins is like really struggling, which I hope isn't the case.
We all hope it isn't the case.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Galchenyuk though. Like when he's ready, who ends up going back down or who ends up going down to the Roadrunners for the Coyotes? Um, because that's
Because forward wise, like there are a lot of people. There are no waiver eligible forwards.
yeah.
I
It's
mean, there are no non-waiver eligible forwards. Like,
it's definitely gonna be a tough call. But I believe those players are currently listed as week to week, so we got a little bit of time, but we will definitely see kind of what happens when they get healthy.
yeah, we'll have to see indeed. Hey, we're gonna get to the actual breaking down of the opening day roster for the Arizona Coyotes coming up just a sec. But first, I want to tell you guys about betonline.ag. We are back and better than ever. All eyes are back on the gridiron as teams are back to start another football season. As always, BetOnline is number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season with a new updated site and interface. Even more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website, you use your mobile device. Sign up for a free account today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use the promo code LOCKEDON, that's LOCKEDON, to receive your bonus from football, basketball, boxing, and hockey, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage for all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
And does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on demand favorites together like never before so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of that clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
All right, back here on Lockdown Coyotes. Once again, Robyn, Leano, and Carl Pavlik. Before we go any further, I do want to thank you, everyone, for listening to making Lockdown Coyotes your first listen today. We really appreciate all your support. Once again, we are free and available on all platforms, including now on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to know when our new episodes drop. But let's now talk about the opening day roster, Carl. Let's start talking about this segment. A huge focus on forwards. Because I mean, there's no surprises here really with forwards.
Nope.
I think the thing that we start to talk about is it's just not good.
No, it's I think it's about what we've expected. There was no major like hiccups. Um, I think Dylan Gunther not making the roster, I've like for at least a couple games was the only big surprise for this. But this is what we expected, and you're right. It doesn't look very good. Um, as we talked about during preseason, a lot of these guys have reason to do really well. So we may see a few surprises during the year, but most of the predictions for the Coyotes are not good, and the roster kind of supports those.
So, I mean, there obviously you have the stars of the team, and we'll all use stars lightly.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
some of them are still stars. Let's be honest, though. Clayton Keller, Phil Kessel, Nick Schmaltz, Lawson Cross. The people like these are our returners essentially, and
Yep.
they're good. They're good players. I think those all of those players I listed are top six forwards. Um,
Yeah, I would agree. Kraus, I think is maybe. I have questions about him.
he's
Like I
borderline top six, maybe a top nine, but
Yeah, top nine definitely, potentially top six. He really stood out in preseason, uh, especially after a year of just hitting post after post. It will be curious to see if Kraus is one of the players who kind of has a bounce back that we're going to keep talking about until it's clear that it's not going to happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, and then rounding out the six, what we have, he, uh, Dmitry Yoshkin could potentially do something if his KHL's numbers can translate. Um, and then that's
you
really.
could potentially get like one of the three former Canucks players up there in top six, like to play top 6 minutes, not full time, but like
I mean, I think Erickson has been in that role. Didn't
yeah.
necessarily look out of place.
That's what I was gonna say. I think if anything would have been Erickson.
Maybe Lad. Uh,
Lad is top nine.
yeah,
Lad's top nine.
yeah. So yeah, it's really rough. But I mean, what would you say the bottom six is?
Ryan Dezingle, Jay Beagle, um, Liam
Like,
O'Brien.
mm, Travis Boyd.
Well, Boyd is going to be an extra.
See, I kind of think O'Brien may be the extra,
Interesting.
and I don't necessarily have too much to justify that.
Well, I guess
One over the other.
I guess it would make sense to make O'Brien the extra because O'Brien is essentially just another Andrew Ladd, just not as good of a player, just freaking wants to fight.
Sure, sure. Which I don't think that's going to be Lad during the season necessarily. I'm not
Oh
sure how
no,
many. Uh,
but
he
you
dropped the
need, but
gloves during preseason. I don't know if he's going to do it throughout the
yeah.
year.
Well, yeah. There's the thing. I think it was who was it that said it? It was Jose Romero from the Arizona Republic. He said that he sees Liam like what Liam O'Brien is doing. He is essentially here to fill in the role that was filled by what previously filled by John Hayden from
Mm.
last year.
Which I mean is interesting because I didn't really see Hayden filling that role last year. Like he didn't necessarily have any of like the big bruiser moments that you would have expected.
But he was
Um,
supposed to be.
yeah, yeah. Let's kind of see how that goes. Honestly, I could see like any of these players really kind of being the the missing forward. Um, really hoping Galchenyuk
Well,
gets
we have
back soon.
14 forwards, so two are extras. Let's be
Yeah,
real here.
yeah,
So both
and
O'Brien and Boyd can be extras.
yeah. And then Johan Larsson. Let's just throw his name out there. And Christian Fischer, returning players, bottom six guys. I have brought this up a couple of times. I do kind of like Fisher's evolution as a penalty killer, and I'm kind of curious to see if that continues into this next year. Uh, Again, team's going to be really bad, but all these players are fighting for contracts for next year.
Well,
There
yeah. Look at
are,
the look at the cap friendly page. It is.
yeah,
Oh boy.
there are 7 Coyotes players who are currently signed after this year. 7. That is ridiculous. Every single person on this roster is going to be playing for another contract. Some of them, they're probably going to retire. Like you look at what Erickson is 36. Anton Stroman, who we'll talk more about when we talk about defensemen, he is 35. Like Andrew Ladd, he signed for another year at 35. but a lot of kind of older players who are, you know, just kind of reaching the natural end of their hockey careers. Let's put it that way.
Yep. Speaking of which, I just realized Lad is 35, but he was signed right before he turned 35, so the 35 plus contract term clause does not
Uh,
go into place in this, I guess, because it would show 35 plus like it shows on for Carter Hutton.
yeah, it should. That's interesting. I would need to look more into Lad's contract. His lack of visibility the past couple years has really made it difficult to keep track of him as a player. But you know, he came like honestly, like he is one of the players I think got talked about during preseason a lot because there was
It
no
was question.
expectations.
It was
Yeah,
questioned if he was even going to play.
yeah. You and I had talked about like if he was gonna suit up for a game next year in order for the Coyotes to get like that pick that's promised in one of the conditions. But no, he came in, he had a good preseason, he dropped the gloves, looked engaged. Um, the forward group is bad, but with plenty of small opportunities for interesting storylines to develop this
Again,
year.
just about every one of these players has something to prove,
Yeah,
and that's potentially a good thing.
yeah, definitely. It's a good thing for them because I'd like to see all these guys get contracts next year. I like when players keep working. But it's also the good thing for the Coyotes because some of these guys may get traded at the deadline. If you're looking for, some veteran talent or just kind of like that missing piece, if the guys had a good year, they may get moved. And then also we just have Kessel Watch 2021. Like I don't think anyone expects Kessel to finish the year with the Coyotes.
He will not.
No. He is going to end up getting traded. I thought it was going to be before training camp, so you get like Kessel to know your system really well. That's not going to be the case, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be before the trade deadline this year.
Absolutely. But we still got more to get to on breaking down this roster. We'll talk defense and the goalies coming up in just a sec. But first, I want to tell you guys about Rock Auto. This episode brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever increasing number of makes and models, it is now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. So why endure offer pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning? Is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? Well, wait for the person behind the counter ordering the parts on their computer, choosing only the brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto, so why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same part from a chain store or car dealership? When you can go to Rock Auto, a family-owned business for serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. They have everything you can need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. And I tell you, I always check out rockauto.com whenever I need something new for my Mustang because I want to make sure that my car is always in tip-top shape. And I want to help you guys do the same thing too. If you go to rockauto.com, go ahead and check out what is available for your car or truck. And again, you will absolutely love the prices they have available. And while you're there, write Locked On and how did you hear about us, Bucks, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection of reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com. All right, back here on Locked On Coyotes. Robyn, Leano, Kyle, Pavlik. Let's break down more of this Coyotes opening day roster, starting defense and goalies. I mean, let's go quickly with goalies just because, there's only two.
Sure, yeah.
And that is so I guess it said Josef Kozhinosh was sent down over the weekend. So that leaves your two final goalies is Karel Vejmelka and Carter Hutton.
Yeah. Vizmelka, a little bit of a surprise. I'm not sure about you. I looked up kind of the original articles from when the Coyotes signed him. Czech Neckminder definitely didn't necessarily see him as the backup for Carter Hutton going into the season.
I mean, not like surprised in some way because I thought like Kozhinosh would be the case, but then I thought to myself, I watched Kozhinosh play like come to like part of the San Jose Barracuda for a while when he came down to Tucson. He's not that good. He's
Yeah.
still an AHL level goalie, and why would you put an AHL level goalie as a backup to Carter Hutton or even a starter, potential starter? Like we don't even know like who's going to be starting, who's going to be backup, and like so like why would you put him in that crate? And obviously, I haven't seen Karel Melka as much as I did see um Kozhinosh, but still, like that leaves a huge ass question mark. It's like, I don't like this.
Yeah, I mean the goaltending was always going to be a big question for the Coyotes, um, and I don't think that this is a good duo. Um,
I
it's
mean, we were spoiled, Carl, last couple years.
Yeah, the Coyotes now have two goaltenders who are getting paid less than $1 million. The cap hit is 1.5925 million for their goaltending, which is just phenomenally low. It's gonna be bad. I don't know if anyone knows how bad it's going to be, but I am kind of curious to see what Kirill can do. Like he was definitely a big question mark, and maybe he could be like that kind of diamond in the rough signing for Bill Armstrong. I don't know. The team has historically not been great at scouting Europe, but yeah, the team has gotten better at um, building their staff. So maybe we could be looking at something special here.
We could be. Maybe again, Nick, maybe he is that, that quote diamond in the rough as you were saying. So he's like maybe like he actually is a decent, a decent goalie, and that we just didn't get a chance. We just haven't got a chance to see much of him. Maybe like
Yeah.
obviously we're not going to expect him to be the next, um, Darcy Kemper, but
No, and he's only 25, so like he's not even gonna be like the next 25-year-old goalie. Kind of came out of nowhere. Matt Murray. Mm,
Matt Murray isn't even not even that good anymore either. But
yeah, no, it's not going to be that. He's not going to be like a big thing for the Coyotes, but I don't know. We can see goaltending is one of those things where you can never really count it out because I don't think most people understand goalies in general. Uh, but what about the defenseman? Any real surprises for you there?
um, not in some ways no, but in some ways yes. I mean, like I thought Soderstrom was gonna get sent down, but because of the Capobianco injury, it makes sense that he's up there.
Yeah,
Um, but I think this is I mean, like as I've been saying all month long, I think this defense core is a pretty solid defense core, and I think you can put you can pair up any of these people, and I think they'll pair up nicely with each other.
yeah. I would say that Vladislav Provanov is one of the players that I've had my eye on throughout the preseason. I think even he did the rookie scrimmage, the black and white scrimmage, going all the way back there. Just as a player who didn't need to do any of that, but came in wanted to show that he was ready for an NHL job. He was going to do whatever it takes. I appreciate that mentality. Um, Same. There's no real surprises. I think these are kind of the players that we expected to see, and they have a potential to be pretty good. This is a very interesting mix. I don't think the Coyotes have the best defense by any means, but they should hopefully be able to match up well and keep games competitive.
Yeah, it will be interesting. What's interesting about Provanev too is I was having this same conversation I was having with people at a Roadrunners game. They're like talking about defensemen. I'm like, and they said, oh yeah, Soderstrom's gonna make it. I'm like, no, uh, but I think Provanev is gonna take his spot. And he's like, no, I don't think Provanev's gonna make it. I'm like, you don't. You're
Yeah,
I'm like, interesting. I think you're the first person who's I've heard say that.
yeah.
Um, and looks like he made the final roster.
I
And
would
that's a
say
good.
like yeah, definitely he is a physical defenseman. Like like laid out some big hits during the preseason and during the rookie faceoff. So I think the Coyotes really could use that because looking at everyone else, Timon, Soderstrom, I mean maybe Labushkin, but Gostisbehere, Chikrin, and Strawman, they're not like necessarily going to be throwing the big bodies around. And the Coyotes could definitely use that, someone to like clear out the crease. So Provlenev seemed like a really smart choice to just have. Um, kind of if the team wants to be a little bit more hard hitting, he's going to be the guy you want on the ice.
Absolutely. One thing that this level of that these seven defensemen help me confirm is that it just clears one more hurdle for the bear pair to become a thing.
Yes, we definitely have the potential to see the bear pair. I'm not sure how much they skated together during
They
preseason. It
had
wasn't.
one game together in the
Yeah,
preseason.
yeah. I saw them matched up. I don't think they're going to be a regular fixture.
No, they won't be a regular thing, but but we let it be known that the Locked On Coyotes podcast will be on Bear Pair watch all season long.
Yeah. One of the real like unfortunate things with the defensive pairings being what they are is it was really tough to kind of predict what these like
They
pairings.
did different D pairing every game, I think.
Yeah, there was like a lot of like scrambling around. I think the only two players that I didn't see playing together during 5-on-5 was Chikrin and Gostisbehere, just because you don't necessarily put them on the ice together unless it's like 2 minutes left in the game and you're down by two.
Yeah. No, that you I mean, that is like and I'm going to use a reference, from, being a fan of the Sharks. That's like trying to put together Eric Carlson and Brett Burns in the same line. You just don't do that.
Yeah. Unless the game's already lost and you just are putting like everyone on the ice to kind of like get that last minute goal, you're not really pairing them together. But I mean, we saw Labushkin move around a lot. We saw Timmons move around a lot. Um, we saw Strawman move around quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to kind of see like what the Coyotes decide to do with these and what the pairings become. Because you don't want to move players around too much. You want to make sure that they have a chance to build chemistry, all that kind of fun stuff.
And yeah, I'm trying to think out of, like, let's say like Provanov and Timmins, the young guys, who their most likely pairing is. I can see Timmins with Strawman and Provanov with Chikrin,
Mm.
or Provanov with the Bushkin.
See, it all kind of depends. If you want to maybe try and capture that what Chikrin and Goligoski had, where it's like that younger player with the veteran, um, which I think worked really well for Chikrin. I could see Chikrin going with Strawman. He seems like he's the player who was kind of
Okay.
brought in to be that. Um, but again, I'm not sure. Like he seems to be playing like pretty good hockey. Maybe you can throw like someone like Connor Timmins there, and then just have like a very dynamic top pairing. Um, who knows? It'll be like I said, really curious to kind of see how Turnier decides to run his lines and run his pairings.
Absolutely. It will be really fun to see how exactly this goes. Opening day roster, once again, finally put into place. And I'm excited to see what this Coyotes team can do. Um, as excited as any of us can be, because, we know this season is not going to be the best season for the Arizona Coyotes in the most in trying to make it sound the most positive way possible.
Yeah,
Um,
it's it's gonna be one that it's gonna be a season that people watch for the future, to watch for like individual storylines. But let's be honest, Coyotes fans have been here before. This is not the first tanking that they've done. This is one of the more complete ones. But if you've been a fan of this franchise for a while, you're used to kind of watching them lose. I
Although
don't think.
here's one thing that I will say that will keep things positive is, if the preseason can tell us anything, is yes, this team will probably, like, even though they won all the preseason games, but they'll probably lose a lot of games this regular season, but they will stay competitive.
Yeah. And I mean, it may even be exciting too. Like losing is never fun, but it's not like the Coyotes were playing boring hockey.
And that's why, I mean, boring hockey. I love that reference. But I mean, isn't that the kind of point of trying to keep butts in your seats, having an entertaining product? Obviously, winning is an important thing, but an entertaining product is the most important.
Yeah, yeah. If fans are like happy to go and just be like, I'm gonna have a good time. The team's probably not gonna win, but I will, be in that fan environment. I'll see some of the future, especially like after like the trade deadline when the Coyotes, I'm sure, are gonna bring up players like Hayton if he hasn't been brought up yet, or Sosham, bring him back. It'll be interesting to see. I think every fan is going to have to find a reason to watch, and the team has really done well in giving people reasons. It's not going to be for wins, but there'll be something for you to enjoy.
Absolutely. But I think on that note, I think we're running out of time here on this episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. So we will go ahead and end things. Hope you guys enjoyed what you heard. If you did, don't forget to leave a review, a like, a comment, depending on where you are, where you're listening. Once again, we are available everywhere you get your podcast. Also, don't forget to subscribe because, you can subscribe on our YouTube channel or any of the podcast platforms to know when a new episode drops. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We are at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn1. Carl Pavlik is at Carl Pavlik FFH. And interact with us. Ask us a question. We may answer them on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Anyways, that's it for today. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.